It's no secret that the Celtics completely overhauled their roster, and without Jayson Tatum, this season is a mystery. I've been trying to rack my brain and really predict, not just for the Celtics, but really what the entire conferences are going to look like now. It is impossible. Before a season starts, you have some idea, right? Maybe the Wizards are still going to be in a lottery. You can make assumptions about certain teams, and you can know to predict their future. With the Celtics, I have no idea what their future is. I have no clue. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Al Horford situation, the general big man situation for this team. But the thing that I have to start off with, the departures of Drew Holiday, Luke Kornet, Al Horford, obviously, we'll get there, Kristaps Porzingis, Jayson Tatum, until he comes back. Hoping for maybe by his birthday. We'll see. That's in March, for those that don't know. I would love to see him back in green as soon as possible. We all know this. But what is unknown is exactly what the Celtics are going to do and who is going to thrive, who is not going to fit in. They have a very interesting front court right now. They have a lot of opportunity for guys like Baylor Shireman and Jordan Walsh, former late first round, early second round draft picks. And guys like that really are going to need to step up. But let's just say Jaylen Brown can sustain being a number one option, and Derek White steps into that number two role, and Peyton Pritchard steps into the Derek White role. Like, can these guys stay afloat? I still think they're good enough to beat the bad teams. They're still a very talented shooting team. I think Neemias Queta is still going to be able to set good screens. Luke Kornet really mastered the pick and roll, especially with Jayson Tatum. There's a lot of chemistry there that's now gone, but so is Jayson Tatum for a while. So if the guys at the top thrive, it opens up the opportunity for the guys at the bottom to then step into that role. If every single person steps up, they could honestly maintain a 500 record. And I really would say that their over-under for wins, if I was making it up in my head, I'd set it at 38.5, maybe 37. I really don't know with this team, though. You could go plus or minus 5 wins. You could go plus or minus 10 wins on that spread, and I would still not feel confident betting any money. Because this team, genuinely, one Jaylen Brown or Derek White injury away from tank mode. They do have their own first-round pick this year, too. So I'm not saying that the Celtics would ever tank. The history, all of the culture, it's not built around losing. With that said, health is the most important part of this new season. If you can stay healthy and then Jayson Tatum gets healthy, we could be talking about a team that's a 6 seed or in the play-in and has to work their way out of the play-in. But either way, we're talking about a team that now back to a top 5 player with Tatum, top 15 with Brown. Maybe Derek White can step up and be a top 20 player, something like that. Like, if these guys still thrive together and still play winning basketball, they could honestly be contenders if Jayson Tatum's 100% by the playoffs next year. But at the same time, they could legit be like a 25-30 win team, and that really is not that crazy to say either. It's a really hard thing to predict. The reason for that is you don't know what the talent on the roster actually is because so much of it is unproven. You have guys who've shown flashes. Jordan Walsh has shown a lot of flashes. So has Baylor Shireman. Neemias Queta, for example. But when you put those guys on the floor night after night, how consistent are they? How reliable are they? You can't depend on certain players all the time. And I think you're asking a lot when you're trading away Kristaps Porzingis. That's one thing. You didn't really get a lot back for him. There wasn't really a lot of value for him anyway. And with Luke Kornet, you were doing better. Obviously, Porzingis at his peak, when he's not battling viral illnesses or ankle injuries or knee injuries or ligament, whatever it is with him, he has so many injuries. When he is fully healthy, he's obviously worth a lot more than George Niang in a bag of chips. But at the end of the day, injuries are just a part of him. So my point with that is, with injuries, getting rid of him isn't that crazy. Drew Holiday is definitely a rough one. He was an amazing defender for them. He was a great corner three-point shooter. There was this one game in Memphis where he took like 28 shots, and I was very upset. But other than that, perfect. Like when I say perfect tenure as a Celtic, perfect. That dude was awesome. He was everything that you needed him to be. He stepped up as a scorer when Porzingis goes down, when guys weren't hitting shots. He'll step up. He had some very, very good games in the conference finals and the finals, but when guys like Tatum and Brown were cooking, he knew to kind of let them cook. He played his role as on the team very well. This is a guy who was an all-star not too long before joining the Celtics. So I think we definitely all owe him a debt of gratitude, and obviously getting Simons back for him is pretty good. If we can re-sign him and make him a part of this team for a while, if he can buy into that six-man role, I think we would be really good. I think he can really lead a bench unit, at least in terms of giving you buckets. Jayson Tatum gives you buckets, and he is gone. Where are you going to get your buckets from? It's that simple, really, to me. And I think Anthony Simons, especially as that microwave six-man, he's going to fit into that role very well. Pritchard, lead guard. I think he's a very versatile guy. I think he fits into that role very well. Jaylen Brown at the 3, we know what that is. As the number 1, I think he can make very contested shots. I think his offense is really just from his own creation. So that's why on a night where Jayson Tatum isn't playing, you can see him slide into that number 1 role well. It's really up to, is everybody else going to step up once the number 2 has to become the number 1? And again, that transitions right into Derek White as the starting 2 guard. How consistent are we going to see him? I think Derek and Pritchard both had 40 in the same game last year. Those dudes are on fire. Good luck. So to me, there's definitely a world where those guys can take those leaps. Jaylen Brown can give you, 25, 5 and 5. But at the same time, it really does depend on your bench depth. Guys are going to miss games. Injuries are just a part of the game. There's going to be soreness, and you can't, jeopardize Jaylen Brown's career just to stay in the playoff hunt. If this season goes south, it could escalate very quickly, and you could be talking about shutting guys down for the whole year and not tanking, but just, accepting that you're a lottery team, if that's the reality of the situation. You have to talk about the veteran presence that they lost. Drew Holiday's gone. Al Horford's gone. We're about to talk about that. But Luke Cornett, also very underrated guy to lose. I think they have a lot of talent in that locker room still. I'm not trying to diss them. But when you look at the centers on the team, it's a bizarre situation that Al Horford decided not to return. I thought Al Horford not returning meant they were going to sign Cornett, and, trading Porzingis was to free up cap space for that. He goes to the Spurs. They pay him 4 years, $41 million. Okay, so now we're talking about Neemias Queta as the starting center. And Al Horford is like, I'm either going to retire, I'm going to go to the Lakers, the Celtics' worst rival, and I'm going to go to the Warriors, the team that beat the Celtics in the finals in 22, which Al Horford was on the Celtics for. So you gotta say, Al Horford, what gives, man? Now, obviously, in my head, I had a lot of time to process this before it became official news because this was the reporting a long time ago. And, this is months and months ago. But seeing him go to the Warriors on a multi-year deal has kind of lit that fire back in my brain because it's like, dude, Jayson Tatum is going to be playing basketball again at least in a calendar year. He's trying to come back way sooner than that. But if you're going to go back 2 years plus, you're not retiring for another multiple years. Why would you go to Golden State? They're not even contending. I mean, they were a cool team. Like, they made it to the second round, I guess. But, I don't know. I just don't really feel like they were that appealing last year. The trade for Jimmy is kind of their last chance to go all in. And, if everybody's healthy, I guess I could see it working out for them. Al Horford's definitely going to get playing time, but he would start over Neemias Queta for sure. And Neemias Queta as the backup big, the full-time backup big, would be fine with me. I think that team would look a lot better. Now you're asking Queta to be the starter full-time. You're asking Xavier Tillman to be the backup center. Luka Garza, you know what I mean? Chris Boucher is not playing center, man. Like, he's barely going to be able to be a power forward. And he's just not that defensively versatile. You don't have a lot of defensive versatility. And that's the main problem. You lose Jayson Tatum to an Achilles tear, and you lose Drew Holiday. Those were two of your most versatile defenders. Derek White is great at blocking guards. He's an athletic guy, I'm not going to say, but like, you're not going to not drive to the rim because Derek White's on the floor. You know what I mean? He's not Wembanyama. You don't have that. Neemias Queta is going to have to be that. And if Neemias Queta can fit into this role and thrive, then yeah, we're talking about a team that could be 500. But if he can't, and he constantly gets in foul trouble, and then you have to go to the back of the bench to start finding bigs, that's when we start having problems. I think Joe Mazzulla is a good coach. I think he is the type of guy where he's going to maximize what you give him. I think he has an ideology. I think he has clearly instilled it in most of the team right now, like already. A lot of guys left, but there's not a whole lot of new guys coming in. Anthony Simons is really the only one that we're going to see if he can fit into Boston or not. He is on an expiring deal, so I wouldn't be surprised if this team sucks next year. Jaylen Brown gets hurt for the season. You know what I mean? Things unravel quickly. Then you trade Simons away because he's an expiring guard. You send him to a contender. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Celtics season can go so many ways. And I do like the unpredictability. It's very fresh, and I think the thing with it that's the most appealing is since I started watching the Celtics, it's pretty much been win or bust. They got their championship last year, but Jayson Tatum on opening night's like, let's do it again. And then everyone's like, oh, okay, let's do it again. And then it's like they, fall short of that, obviously. He tears his Achilles. That sucks. But now you're going into a year where you have no expectations. I don't know what team you're a fan of, but I know that if you're a fan of a team like the Timberwolves or, let's say the Knicks, teams where you have an established star, where the pressure right now is to win. You have made runs. You have made it places. It's a hard feeling to watch your team lose when they are expected and needed to win. When your team has no obligation to win or lose other than just, the guys in that locker room not wanting to suck, there's a refreshing, view of this season. I'm not worried about them. I don't care. Obviously, I want them to win, but I'm not going to be devastated if they lose. What are they supposed to do? There's plenty of hope for the season still. There's plenty of guys with opportunity. I just think it finally set in. I grieved the Tatum injury. I'm through with that. And now you kind of get to watch a Celtics team that's got a chip on their shoulder. They're hearing all of the stuff that's being said about them. They're hearing the doubters. They're putting that work in still. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I mean, genuinely, what they are going to do is a mystery to me and to everybody. And I think that's what's so fun about it. They could be terrible. But if they're really good still, even if they're just like a 500 team, that winning is going to be so much sweeter than, them cakewalking to 60 wins because they have the best starting five in the league. This is a team that does not have the talent to just steamroll people. They have to be locked in, tremendously locked in, as the Red Sox are. Go Sox. They better win against the Yankees. I will be very sad. Cannot lose in the wild card of the Yankees. Just can't. That's enough baseball talk for this episode. But when you're the fan of a team that is pressured to win, it is very, very hard to enjoy even just winning, especially when you get sucked into the social media. There's all the trolls on, NBA Twitter, just for an example, that kind of low-key ruin the experience of being a fan of a contending team because those other teams are just constantly, it's just so toxic. And again, maybe this is not the average fan experience. It's kind of why I deleted Twitter, honestly. But just all of that trolling, just that competitive side comes out and it just gets ugly. When you're the underdog, everybody, at least not, I don't know that everyone is going to ever root for the Celtics, but they're not rooting against the Celtics. Obviously, you've got Lakers fans and all these other fans that don't want the Celtics to succeed, and that's totally fine, but you're not going to have the target on your back of being the defending champions anymore. You're not going to have anybody really take you as seriously as they used to take you. I think going under the radar in that way will allow the Celtics, with no Jayson Tatum in the lineup, to still probably maintain that 500 record. Maybe they're a little bit below it, but I think by the time Jayson Tatum comes back, they'll still be in the play-in. They'll still be a top 10 seed. I do think that there's 5 teams that realistically, starting right now, have a worse roster than the Celtics do, just in the East alone. So I'm not here to fear-monger about the Celtics season. It's going to be what it's going to be, but I genuinely think there's a world where they stay afloat, Jayson Tatum comes back, and they're already contending in the playoffs again. It would be very interesting to see that happen, to say the least. But I'm very optimistic about the season, and I'm really excited to watch him play basketball again. And also with this video, something new format-wise. Haven't really done the pod in a long time. Honestly, the last video I made was when the Luka trade happened, I think. So it's been a minute, but if you like this type of content, let me know, and I'll try and do more of it. I could definitely do a preseason preview for any NBA team that you want. And again, if that's some type of content that you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments below. I will see you all in the next one. And until then, take care.